I dream and the world trembles.
You are listening to the Emerald Dreamcast, a World of Warcraft podcast, with your hosts, Hazel and Wow Martian.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the podcast, Emerald Dreamcast, episode 7, May 2nd, 2016. I did get the day right on Twitch. Thank you very much. Hazel, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, Hazel.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful.
Are you proud of me? I actually got the episode and the date right.
I'm so proud of you. I just
know.
might burst.
I do that for you specifically now. not really to make you happy as much as to keep you off my case.
Yeah.
But it's still about you. So,
Well, that's very sweet.
There's that. And we are very excited. We're able to get a guest host this week. I've been talking to her off and on for years now. In fact, there was one point where I said, you would be really good on a podcast. And while I don't have her on a podcast regularly, I did sucker her into coming to Emerald Dreamcast this week. Her name is Gloria. And what do we Gloria Boboria? Do we want to go do we want to do your full name or just go with Gloria?
Gloria is totally fine.
Sweet.
And thank you both for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. We're excited. Like I said, everything that you're involved in, I mean, just watching your Twitter, you always, are involved in the community actively, and you have a lot of things and, opinions and thoughts, and I always have been intrigued. So to get you on the show, I think is a coup for us. So, and like I said, her full at Twitter is Gloria Boboria. I'm still going to butcher that. So, but we'll just go with Gloria because.
How do you butcher it? It rhymes. It's like a song. It's not like it's Czechoslovakian.
I do a podcast because I'm not musical, dear. Okay, obviously. So, anyway, before we get into the week in and out of game, we're going to go ahead and talk about Gloria a little bit and have her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about herself before we go any further. So, Gloria, what would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, my name is Gloria, and I have been playing World of Warcraft for, 12 years now that it's been out,
Wow.
I think. I think this is the 12th year.
I think, is it 11th or 12th? I'm not sure. Plus beta. I don't know if you were in beta or not. That seems to be the thing. I've been playing since beta.
Oh, no.
No?
I actually haven't been playing since beta. I actually got the game Christmas Day.
Oh, nice.
The year that it released because my friends all recommended it. But at the time I had, those old Dell laptops that they just kind of gave, students who were going away to college.
Right.
That was my computer. So I tried to play World of Warcraft on my old Dell laptop, and it was like watching those old-timey claymation cartoons.
Oh, no.
Where you can see, the stopping and the starting of the camera every time the character was moving.
So you're 5 frames per second or something.
Yeah, yep. So I ended up playing for a month, and I was like, this is terrible. And so I stopped playing, but then, once I actually got, a desktop, I started playing again, and that's when it really hooked me. So I started off playing as a shaman on the Horde, and then I bounced around characters, factions for a little while, and now recently throughout Warlords of Draenor, I've been playing that same shaman, except for she is now Alliance side. So besides that, I do a lot of pet battling related stuff. That's generally what a lot of people follow me on Twitter for, is just the pet battle discussions. And that's my passion in the World of Warcraft, along with kind of, community initiatives like what we're going to discuss tonight.
Very nice, very nice. If I had it all set up and everything, I was thinking as soon as you said you switch your Horde to Alliance, I wanted to play that soundbite from Force Awakens going, "Traitor!" But didn't think of that. Didn't have it prepped. Maybe I'll slip that in later on. So, well, like I said, I'm really happy to have you, and your initiative is something that's very close to what we do here. We talked about. Passing on, just doing little things for characters or for people in game week to week and stuff like that. So yours fits exactly with what our hardcore casual, what we call hardcore casual, basically the people that play this game when there isn't new content, like there is this content drought and everything else, and we still keep playing and we find stuff to do. This fits in perfect with what we're trying to do for the community. So I'm really excited about that. So tell us about this past week. What have you been doing in and out of game, Gloria?
For me specifically, I've been spending most of my time outside of game right now. Mostly just researching stuff like on, I hate to say it, but the subreddit is a really great place to get news as quickly as it drops.
Yeah.
And mostly having discussions like on Twitter and on Reddit and stuff like that, just about news that's coming up. In terms of in-game, there's not as much for me to be doing right now unless I want to log in and do like mount runs and things like that. I've hit my gold goals for Legion and all that good stuff. But I think here within the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to start logging in to do stuff like crafting bags and potions and scouring the auction house for cheap battle pets, since the Warcraft movie release is almost a month away. So gotta get started on that.
That's true. I know. I was thinking about the other day. I'm like, we're into May now. May 10th is exactly a month. That's just crazy after, all the years we've been waiting for the movie in general, but even just since it was announced and everything else, and Duncan's first appearance at BlizzCon and whatnot, it does seem like it's been forever, but we're almost there.
I know. It's a little ridiculous to think that we're so close to the finish line now.
Yeah.
And it kind of snuck up on me too, because I started this whole initiative, I think, earlier this year, and I've been sitting here and I'm like, oh, I still have months, and then I look at the calendar and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a month.
Right. Yeah, so Hazel, what have you been doing in and out of game?
Well, in-game, same old, just kind of continuing to queue every moment that I can and try and get as much practice in as possible. The announcement of the final Legion release date has really put like a clock sort of on my head for when the end of the season is actually going to be and how much time I have to achieve my goals and whether or not I can actually do it. But we're still giving it a good go. We had some really good queues last night, so I was feeling good about that. I'm starting to realize that I have a slightly unhealthy connection between my actual rating and my emotional well-being. If I had a bad night of queues, it just ruins me until I get good ones again. I'll just be like cranky and bitter and like doubting my whole life and myself as a person until we finally get back at it. And then I realize, oh wait, that was just a bad night. Everything's okay. I can go on living. It's gonna be okay.
That's good. Good the sky isn't falling because you had a bad night.
Exactly. And then outside of WoW, kind of related, I have decided to try and get back into running, which I'm still convinced is a terrible idea because every time I do it, it's just the worst thing ever. But I was reading some studies about how like vigorous regular exercise, especially when you combine it with active studying, can help create new brain matter and increase things like focus and clarity and reaction times. And those are all things that I'm a little bit short on right now. So I've been doing that, and like I've been going for the run and then immediately coming back and reviewing my notes and watching my games and like trying to study basically because I need all the help I can get. So at least it's a healthy way of going about it.
There you go. So I didn't know running increased brain matter. I definitely need to run more.
I mean,
often.
it might not. It might be just some terrible pop science article, but I'm working with it.
You got some clickbait off of Facebook or something.
Basically,
yeah,
worst
but at
case
least
scenario.
it's a good message though.
shape.
Like even if it doesn't work, it still has other benefits.
Absolutely.
So.
See, but the thing, I only run when I'm chased, so I probably should get into a better.
There is an app for that. There's an app that like actually you wear headphones and then you run the app on your phone and it's zombies and they chase you and there's like a story that you go through and sometimes the zombies are kind of slow so you like get to walk and catch your breath and all of a sudden they're after you and you have to go because they're going to get you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Usually it's just a police siren I'm running from, but that's a whole different story.
I'm sure there's a version for that too.
Yeah, the judge says I'm not supposed to talk about it anymore. Anyway. Let's talk a little bit. Well, I'm basically in and out of game. Like I said last week, we did not have a show, and I do apologize again. We did not have a show because I had a job interview that night, and I didn't know how long it was going to go. I was told it could be 2-3 hours because there's testing in the interview process itself. So I needed to completely focus on it because it's a job that I really, really wanted. And luckily, actually, during the interview, they told me that I got the job, which I was not expecting. I figured they'd be like, well, we'll talk to you later. We'll get a hold of you later and let you know. But no, right then and there, they let me know that I did get the job. So I start next Tuesday, and luckily the schedule will not interfere with the podcast or anything. So I'm really excited and very happy for that change of life for myself. In terms of in-game, I actually have pretty much been doing the same things with my garrisons and stuff, but I actually decided to give the Iron Man challenge a shot, and did not do so well my first time. I got considerably impatient and cocky since I had a night elf. I'm a night elf hunter. I figured I could run through a group of gnolls and murlocs, and I'll just get to the other side, and I'll just shadow meld. They'll de-aggro, no problem. Well, yeah, that does happen, except they like your pet still. And when they're done with your pet, they all come after you, which I was like, crap. So I died at level 12. I was so embarrassed because that was all me. But I restarted another character, another night elf hunter, and he's up to 14 now. And I'm convinced it's just going to be slow and steady. Wins the race. I just can't be my normal, trying to level quickly self. I need to really enjoy the process, which is another benefit I didn't expect. It really has kind of thrown me back to the old days. We talk about legacy servers and stuff. It really, since I'm not learning heirlooms and everything, everything's taking its time, and I'm really, enjoying the environment, and it's really thrown me back to when I first started playing the game. So that's been a really neat thing. I found myself kind of just wandering a little bit and listening to the ambience and the music, and it really gave me a big nostalgic a kick yesterday. In fact, I was posting all these old screenshots on Twitter because of it. It was a benefit I didn't expect. So I'm really excited about the process of hopefully getting to 100. But even if I don't, it's been worth it just to kind of get some of those feels back. I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, in terms of Gloria, you talked a little bit about getting prepared for the movie and the initiative that you're working on. It is the hashtag for it is the Warcraft Welcome Wagon.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved in it, how you created it.
It was mostly, there's kind of a need in the community for newbie assistance, I think. As veteran players, we just have gotten mostly used to the daily grind, basically. It's kind of like when you work in customer service and you get a new customer on the phone and they have questions for you that you've kind of answered, 1,000,001 times. And in your head, you're like, how does this person not know this? But to that person, they wouldn't ask if they didn't know, right, basically. So I saw a need in that a lot of the newbies from the Hearthstone promotion came into the game, I think, to get to level 20 to get Lady Liadrin as a new Hearthstone character, and they were coming into WoW and posting to like the WoW subreddit and Twitter and all kinds of things like that, just completely lost, completely no idea where to go, what to do, what they were supposed to be doing, and things like that. And I kind of realized that going from that and also some personal experiences when I brought my brother and his girlfriend and a couple of his friends into the game, they had the exact same experience. If you're not a dedicated MMORPG player, it's one of those things that you don't know. You don't know what you're supposed to do. You don't know that you're supposed to go to the quest givers.
Right.
And in some other games, they do have tutorials, letting you know what you're supposed to do and things like that. And WoW kind of does, I guess, if you count the newbie tips.
Right.
But not really,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just came out of a necessity of, we're getting to these points where we're going to get a whole bunch of new players coming in at once, and we could really use new players. Like, we could really use sustainable new players coming in and kind of feeding the veteran ranks, so to speak. So this kind of grew from wanting to engage the new players in the community as well as engaging the veteran community and kind of taking responsibility to help build the community up as a whole. Boy, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, no, that's... See, in fact, I helped a friend of mine get in. He's frustrated with, he's been playing a lot of League of Legends, and he's just frustrated with the game, the community, and everything else. And I was like, well, I've been playing this game for so long, and I've been telling you about it for so long. I would love for you to come in and see the world and kind of, for me to share what it's done for me with you, and hopefully it can kind of help you the way it's helped me in so many different ways in my life. So when we got in and started playing, I was totally just thrown by the little things that we take for granted, kind of like you were saying. Just him getting used to the camera and the movement. For me, we both started Warriors, so I just got the auto attack off of my bars right off the bat and put heroic strike right on button number 1. Well, I forgot to tell him to do that, so when I'm telling him to hit number 1 and it's not working, he was totally confused. I'm like, oh yeah, auto attack automatically goes to why is auto attack on our bar anyway? so
Right.
little things that we just we whenever we start a new character, at least myself, I don't want to say everybody, but I think a lot of people feel the same way. When you start an alt, you kind of have a routine that you got to get started, you got to do this, turn on auto loop, blah blah blah, and we take all that for granted. So it was really interesting for me to see everything from his perspective, just like you're saying. So I'm really
Exactly.
excited. I'm excited about this initiative. It is hashtag Warcraft Welcome Wagon. If you use it on Twitter, I think it's a great, especially when you're talking about the movie. We're gonna have a lot of people coming in from the movie. So,
Yep. You want to catch them before they get frustrated and leave, basically.
Right.
Because with the
Exactly.
Hearthstone promotion, they had to stay until level 20, and then a lot of them just left because they had no idea what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But for the movie, it's purely going to be people who are interested in Warcraft. So it is absolutely critical that we, as a community, come together and welcome them and help them so that they stay. Because my God, we need newbies so bad.
So do,
We need
yeah.
new blood.
It certainly does help. I mean, we have with community. Sometimes the community can get a little bit negative, so bringing some new blood would be a good thing. And we talked a little bit about this when, like you said, when the Hearthstone promotion came up, and just kind of the Play It Forward initiative that we were doing as well. It's just doing one thing for somebody new in the game, or not even necessarily new, just another player, help another player out once a week. Is that we all had that experience. I feel like at some point somebody kind of swooped down out of nowhere and helped us kill a mob that was about to kill us, or 2-person mount and flew us someplace, or it just seemed like those little things are what really helped me get engaged with the game. And I like the fact that we're looking at this to focus on that again, because I feel like in some ways we've lost that. So
Yeah.
let's talk
Sorry,
a
go
little. I was going to talk about the Warcraft movie promotion. One of the reasons we're discussing this as well is because, in fact, I'll let you bring it up and talk about it, because actually it was you that pointed it out to everybody, and certainly to me today, is the fact that on Reddit, which, like I said, that's where we both get our news these days, is that that there is a promotion. We've talked about there was like speculation of a promotion in the past. But now it seems like it's come to fruition now because of what they found in France. Why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about that, Gloria?
Yeah, it's really cool because it's a promotion that appeals to veteran players and new players. For those of us that have been playing for a while, the Warcraft Twitter tweeted out a couple of pictures of some Warcraft movie designed weapons in game, and those are basically going to be some transmoggable items that are going to be available for everybody who purchases a ticket. I'm not sure how that specifically is going to work. It's probably going to be some sort of physical code that they hand out, I'm guessing, most likely at the movie theater. Kind of like they used to do with like the old Pokemon promotions. And then on top of that, people will also get a free copy of World of Warcraft up to Warlords of Draenor, and a free month of Warcraft. So that basically means that they will get immediate access to the game. I'm not sure, as far as I know, the level 90 boost should still be attached to the Warlords of Draenor upgrade, which kind of scares me a little bit. But at the same time, for veteran players, that basically means, hey, free level 90 boost. But the idea that is going to go out, basically a copy of World of Warcraft up to Warlords of Draenor is going to go out to every single person who walks into the theater and sees the movie. And I mean, granted, how many of those people are just gonna, be like, whatever, and put it on a shelf and never do it? But then a lot of them are gonna see the movie and be like, yeah, let's go play with, let's go beat up some orcs or whatever else like that. So I'm thinking that, the newbie zones and things like that are going to be pretty populated within the weeks coming out after the promotion runs.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And I mean, that's again what the initiative is all about. And in terms of that, I mean, in terms of the actual initiative, how would you how would you say we need to go about welcoming these? What's your advice?
What are like the specific activities? Like, what exactly are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it comes down to retention, and retention is a tricky issue. I work with it every day, basically, customer service related retention. And what keeps people coming back is going to be ease of access to the game, which we've already discussed a little bit, and that it really could be better. And the community. So if people come into the game and they see, these characters that are willing to help them, that are wearing all this cool gear, that are giving them bags and things like that, they're going to think, wow, this is great. I could be like them someday, and hopefully stick around. So that's going to involve things like, just giving out basic item packs, like, maybe some netherweave bags, some low-level consumables like potions and things like that, and also just being there, man. Just being there to answer questions, to guide people in the right direction and things like that. Something as small as, answering somebody's question, where is Thunderbluff? If somebody asks that in trade chat, just taking the 2 seconds to type out an answer to them means the world, because they know that they're being listened to. They know that there are people out there willing to help them, and that's going to kind of, how to put it, teach them to fish, guide them in the right direction, so that while you're helping them, they slowly gain the skills to actually continue playing the game and figure things out for themselves as well.
Right, and then it also gives the opposite effect of a lot of what you see nowadays when somebody asks a question that, like you said, we think is commonplace. Somebody just being like, Google it, just Google it or whatever.
Exactly,
we can be the antithesis of that.
And that's the big thing. Like, it really annoys me to see people referring, even, gosh, I hate to say this, but even on the official Warcraft site, it really frustrates me to see people referring new players to, like, Wowhead and sites like that. And it's not because I don't like Wowhead, it's because you're basically saying, I don't have the time to help you with this. Like, look it up on your own. So, I mean, it's one thing when it's like, like a quest mob or something like that, and you're kind of guiding them to Wowhead so that they can learn to look it up themselves. It's another thing when somebody's like, oh, where do I find Hogger? And people are just like, oh my god, like, go look it up on Wowhead, you're so lazy. It's like, no, they're not lazy, they're new. They don't know what they're doing.
Right, and we, like I said, we've kind of forgotten what that's like. And there was a time when we were all like that.
Exactly.
And everybody complains so much about the community not helping each other, not being there for each other. You don't know anybody in your server, but if you just go tell everybody to Google something, you never talk to anybody, then you're never going to meet anybody.
Right.
Exactly. That's, like, everybody's kind of become so insular, and the problem with the players of World of Warcraft is that this game has been out for 12 years. So we do kind of all assume that anybody who's been playing Warcraft has been playing for years at a time, and it's not like people are born into this world knowing how to play World of Warcraft. You talked about auto attack before. I had an auto attack bound on my bars for like 3 years before I figured out that I could take it off.
Right.
So I mean, it's just like, we've all been in this position where we're new. We've all been in the position where we've needed some kind of help. So there's nothing wrong with people asking us and us being available to help them with that.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I think, again, we all have our moments that we remember that. Mine in particular will always be the time as a warrior I was trudging along down the street in Duskwood, and I got a whisper from some guy randomly said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean I'm going to turn in a quest?" And he was like, "No, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh boy." So, but he pulled me over. We sat on the side of the road, and for a half hour, he explained to me warriors shouldn't be using a staff. I was 20-something, and I should probably put in some talent points. And, what I wanted to do in terms of being Fury and how to do that, and that I probably should pick up First Aid, because that could come in handy as well. All those little things that it was my first MMO. I'd never played a game before like this. And so if it wasn't for that guy sitting there for a half hour, taking his time and unnoobing me...
Yep.
I don't know where I might have gotten frustrated and quit the game. Who knows?
Exactly, because I mean, part of it is that, if somebody doesn't tell these people, then they get, especially if they use a level 90 boost, they get tossed into these upper level dungeons with veteran people who have this expectation, that they should know this. And it's a really good story that you brought up, because I mean, I was the exact same way when I started playing World of Warcraft. I think I got like a white staff and used it to replace a blue, and I went into a dungeon, and I was playing Resto at the time because there was no such thing as anything else
Yeah,
in
that's
vanilla.
true.
And they were like, "Where's your real weapon?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they were like, "Your real weapon, like that actually has stats on it." And I was like, thankfully I still had it in my bag, but it was like a sheepish, "Oh, I guess that's better." I don't know. So yeah, it's good to guide people in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it behooves us all to make the game a little bit better here and there wherever we can. Hazel, do you have any stories like that? I think I've talked about some stories like that from me, but I don't know if I've ever heard
Yeah,
one from
mine
you.
are a little bit less heartwarming because I'm a very stubborn person.
Less heartwarming.
So whenever my friends or random friendly people would help me and go, "Hey, you're a hunter, maybe those cloth shoulders aren't the best for you," I was like, "No, they're mine. These are mine, I'm wearing them, you're wrong."
Oh, God, that is pure
I didn't
Hazel
take
right there.
suggestion very well.
Well, I remember in Felwood we were farming timber maw back in vanilla, and we actually had epic shoulders drop. They were plate, but they were paladin. They had intel on them, and I was a warrior. I was like, I don't care. They're mine. They're plate. They're better than what I got. I don't care. And I wore them I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And now I look back and I'm like, oh, gosh.
I think my hunter may actually still be on her server at level 43 wearing those shoulders. I don't think I ever replaced
Oh,
them.
my. I want a screenshot of that if that's the case. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll take a look later.
We'll definitely put that on Twitter. So...
Well, yeah, and I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but like MMOs, I'm so sorry, like I just completely jumped subjects.
No, you're fine. Go
Go
ahead.
for it.
We do it all the time.
MMOs are, if you think about MMOs in the context of modern gaming, and how people are mostly used to MOBAs and console-related games where you kind of jump into the action immediately, MMOs are kind of a relic of the past when everything was more story-based and more linear progression-style gaming. So I feel like a lot of the people that come into the game just are not used to the style of game where they've got, action bars, but they have cast times and things like that. And they need to speak with quest givers.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like, it's completely understandable that people would get into this game nowadays and be like, what the heck am I even, like, can you imagine zoning in as a brand new night elf to, Teldrassil? And just being like, what do you mean I have to climb to the top of this tree
Yeah.
to talk to some guy?
Yeah.
It's very daunting, and I think a lot of us as veteran players, we're so used to it, we don't even think of it.
Right, and that whole go up to the top of the tree thing is very disconcerting too, because while you have an arrow and everything else, it doesn't tell you that it's up there. You could wander around the base of it forever.
And even now, a lot of players that are veterans don't know that if you mouse over an objective on your map, it'll give you a little up or down arrow related to where it is in the Z-axis. People still don't know that.
I didn't
There's
know
no
that.
way that a new player... Yeah, you can...
Yeah.
I didn't. Wow.
There's no way that a new player is going to figure that out.
Bing!
Yep.
Light bulb. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I didn't
Works
know
for
that.
nodes, quest givers, quest turn-ins, all sorts of stuff. It's great.
Well, there we go.
Or even something as easy as like pulling up their map and stuff like that. Like they're not gonna know the keybinds for that,
right.
and they're probably not gonna know that, like, it's easier to turn with your mouse and things like that. It's goodness gracious, it's a lot for one person to pick up.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like I said, when I was showing my friend, I totally had no idea that it was going to be that much, because he was getting it all at once and stuff that we completely take for granted, and it was an eye-opening experience for sure. And that's one of the reasons why I like these kind of initiatives, because we all need to be a little more sensitive and thoughtful about those things, because for me, and Gloria, you said you started in vanilla as well. Hazel, you started in Wrath, and to me, I'm like, that's in my mind for some reason. I'm like, that's where people a lot of people came in Wrath, so that's, of course, they at least started there. But people are coming, even now in Warlords, like you said, with Hearthstone and everything else. So this initiative, and especially now we've got this movie promotion. Now we have to do one thing I should say. with the this promotion that we saw on Reddit, it is this situation in France. We don't have anything official yet that says it's going anywhere else, or anything official at all about it yet. But like Gloria was saying, they did tweet out those items, so it's just probably a matter of time before they officially announce it.
Yeah.
I figure I should say that just in case, but I think it's inevitable. We're just assuming that. So of course, assuming gets me in trouble, but I think it's safe at this point. So one thing I wanted to talk about as well. I mean, unless there's anybody else that wants to talk about more of the initiative and certainly what we can do for players in the game.
No, you gave me a really great idea. It's just occurred to me that there's a lot of players that are going to be completely brand new, not just to WoW, but to like MMOs in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about the way that I learn a new game. Like when I pick up like Dark Souls, or for example, something that I've never played before, I am very much I'm going to do this by myself person. I don't like people telling me what to do, and I like to just sort of take a really, really slow okay, I'm going to find a weapon, and I'm just going to hit this wall for like 5 minutes until I figure out all the different ways that I can hit this wall, and then I move on to the next thing. So I could, in the spirit of that, I was thinking about putting together a couple of guides, just like make a new character with no add-ons, and then just this is your first 5 minutes in WoW, and like go over the very, very basic UI, how to do your first quest, how to start attacking, and just like do like one step at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is your second hour of WoW, and then you can go over like what the auction house is, how to get bags, how to find a guild, how to ask for help. Stuff like that. So that's something that wouldn't be a bad idea to put together in advance of the movie, just to have some resources out there for people that are absolutely new, that don't want to be talked down to, but they just want to figure out how to get started.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what? In you saying that, like, I totally just realized that a brand new player isn't going to know how to type into chat channels either.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that totally
just,
didn't.
Like WASD, we got to start from the very beginning. Yeah.
And they're not going to know how to reply to whispers and stuff like that. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
There's.
Yeah. See, again, stuff we take for granted.
Yeah, there's
we
like
need these people so badly. Like the game has bled so many players, and it's become so hard to find people to play with, and we just want to keep it going.
Yeah, like we
People
have
friends.
got to retain some of these people. Like even with Legion launching soon and all the people that are going to be coming back for that, we still need new blood to this game. Partially because new blood brings new ideas. New people posting to the forums, new people giving feedback on classes and things like that, and it also just, gosh, we could use a more alive world.
Mhm.
Just people around in general, I think.
Absolutely, and it is. And again, with me doing the Iron Man challenge, it really has opened my eyes up to how great the world of Warcraft is, and how, I hate to say it, I mean, I don't want to get into the whole flying discussion, but the fact that I've been flying over stuff for so long, the fact that I've been forced to walk and run and quest slower has really reminded me just how amazing this world is, and how they got it right so early on, like you said, like 11, 12 years ago, that this world is so awesome. And that's a lot of why we play, and it seems like we've kind of lost that. And I'm glad. And there's going to be new people that we can share that with too. That's great.
Yes, and that's one of the really major positives for veteran players participating, is that we kind of get to see the world through these new players' eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We get to kind of live vicariously through them as they're like when my brother started playing, he flew around. Well, he didn't fly around. He ran around. Elwyn Forest for like a half an hour, just running around looking at things, and he was asking me questions like, what's this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that must just be such a magical feeling to just be out there and seeing everything for the first time, because like you said earlier, we just roll alts and we're like, okay, I gotta go over here and get this experience. I gotta run to the capital city and so I could set my Hearthstone, blah blah blah.
Yep. And that's one thing I've jumped into other MMOs here and there, Rift and WildStar and stuff like that. And the one thing I do appreciate about those games is that not knowing what the hell I'm doing. And unfortunately, for us that have played so long, we know this thing like the back of our hands. We don't get that anymore. I mean, we do get a new expansion, we get a new continent, so we have that for a little while, but it's not like when you first start playing, you got Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, and I mean, it's just so much to take in terms of who's who and what's what, and to be able to live that through other people, that's...
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm the exact opposite. I hate not knowing what I'm doing. I feel so stupid. It's the worst. I want to do everything I can to get everybody else past that phase so that they can feel like they can do it on their own.
Well, yeah, but it's fun. I mean, I don't know. There's only one time you go through that learning curve, and I don't know. To me, it's like an adventure, and every little bit is just new information and a piece of the puzzle, and I don't know. I like that process to a degree. Yeah, I certainly didn't like being told I was an idiot running around with a staff on my warrior, but it was helpful to me. I mean, I ran into him later on in BC one time. He apparently quit and came back and everything else, and I just railed on him, just gave him a big old long block of text and said, "Thank you for making my game better, for taking that half hour." And I hadn't seen him in so long, so I was so glad I got a chance to really thank him for that. So I like the idea that we want to be those people, just like he did for me. So
yeah, and I think both of you have valid points because Hazel's right, and you're right, Joe, because everybody has different play styles.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the big thing. There are going to be players out there that are exactly like Hazel that are going to want to know what the most efficient way to get to level cap is outside of using the level boost.
Right.
And then there's going to be other players that are just running around like, oh my gosh, check out this flower, this, that, and the other. And I think it's really important that as guides for these people, we kind of, we give them as much leeway as they need, because you want to be a guide, but you don't want to be like, I don't like the idea of like, yes, I have a passenger mount, but I don't want to get somebody on my passenger mount and fly them around to all their quest nodes. Like
right.
That's not a good use of my time or the new player's time, because I'm doing the work for them.
Yeah.
You kind of have to like guide them and lead them into it so that they can discover their own play style, and then just kind of, I'm sorry, I hit my mic, and just kind of go from there from that point. So generally you can pick that up just talking from somebody, engaging their questions. Like if you're like, oh, how can I help you? And somebody's like, oh man, have you seen this cool flower? It's called a peace bloom. They're probably going to be, the people who are more, whimsical about it.
Right.
But then you're also going to get the people who are like, well, where do I get a new shield? Like, where do I get a new weapon? And those are probably the people who, even without your guidance, are probably going to discover Wowhead like within 15 levels.
Right.
And use guides and all that good stuff. So it's important to kind of adapt to as many play styles as possible.
Right, and there's going to be people that want to like just blister through and level up and get into the content and stuff. But like for me, I was lucky that my friends started playing on an RP server. So while I was an RPer and never really did a lot of RP, it helped me appreciate a lot of the intricacies of the game that I probably wouldn't have gotten on, say, like a PvP server.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And that's another thing. It's just like a good new player tip is I found, generally speaking, the community and the willingness to help other people in RP servers is vastly outstrips that of just a regular normal PvE or, God forbid, PvP server.
Yeah.
I've found people are generally really, really like open to newbies, ready to help. So long as you're not actively interrupting their RP, don't do that. Or if you have like a really dumb name, they're not going to like you very much. But generally speaking, if you're just starting out in WoW, that's a great place to start. That's where I started, and I got a lot of great help from there.
Yep. And I think another key point that sounds really silly, but it really kind of makes a difference is that I know for a lot of us veteran players, we kind of haven't really had any areas where we could, show off the feathers in our caps, so to speak. Because, I mean, you can go to Ashran and sit on your moose or whatever else like that with your raiding gear, but everybody there, been there, done that, seen that. So this is kind of a chance for veteran players to get out your challenge mode transmog gear, get out your cool raiding mount or whatever else like that, and go and actually show off to people who are going to be genuinely impressed by it. And you can use that as leverage to point out, like if you keep at the game, you can earn this kind of stuff eventually too. Like it's an attainable goal. You just have to be willing to actually play through the rest of the game to get to it. So I think there's positives for veteran players and new players. I think it's kind of a good relationship that a lot of veteran players who may not necessarily be as interested in the the helping aspect, like the answering questions and trade chat and things like that, even just being there and being visible and at least being polite to people is probably going to be enough to at least impress them enough to, get second thoughts into their head about, maybe I can look like Lothar from the movie, like because this person looks like him, so maybe I just need to keep at it.
Yeah, and I did something similar in terms of just kind of wanting to let my friend know what he was in for if he continued on. Was I was on my mage, and I ported him to I think, where did we go? I can't remember. Well, first went to Shatrath, so I showed him Burning Crusade and just flew him around a few zones. I'm like, this is what you have to look forward to. Look at how amazing this zone is, and and then we went through all the expansions except for Warlords, and I just was showing him, and I was, telling him the lore, telling him about the Lich King, and as I was doing that for him, I found myself getting all jazzed about not only what this game is and the stories that it has, but what I've been through and how, like back in Wrath, we were on a RP server, small server and everything else, and we took a little tiny guild and we were 5th on server to kill Lich King, and what an experience that was. And yeah, it was good for me as well as it was for him. It was fun to show him. I know we didn't want to fly over stuff like we were talking about with Quest, but this was just kind of, this is what you have to look forward to. Look how awesome and how big this world was. That was an experience.
Yep.
I really had a good time with that. So.
And isn't it kind of magical to also think that, maybe in a couple of years, like, you'll be that fond memory for that new player?
Right.
Of that great person that they interacted with that really changed their opinion of the game?
Absolutely.
Because that's kind of, like, you get warm and fuzzies from that kind of thought, that you could actually make a genuine difference on somebody's playtime.
Right.
And not a negative difference, as is so often the unfortunate case.
Yep. Yeah, and I still remember that guy that helped me, and I wish I could even to this day still say thanks again if I could find him somehow. I can't even remember his name anymore. I feel kind of bad, but and Hazel and I have talked about too. One of the reasons we do content creation and make videos is because while we can help somebody singular in the game one at a time, if we make a video or something else, it could do the same thing and reach a lot of people with just doing one video, which is that's an amazing feeling too. So and it's the same concept that we're helping the community just by doing one thing. So that's been the big eye opener in terms of content creation for myself. Well, let's shift gears a little bit because we were talking about the Warcraft movie coming out. Like I said, we've got just over a month now. Did you either of you see the Warcraft movie panel at PAX East by chance with Duncan Jones and Robert Kaczynski?
I did not. You'll have to tell me all about it.
I definitely haven't
been
able to watch it.
Well, I mean, it's pretty standard fare. They're giving the right answers and everything else. But one thing I've found through all these interviews and everything, more the promotion, the even some of the stuff on Twitter from Duncan Jones and stuff over time as we're getting closer to the release date, is I'm finding they're saying more and more, well, we had to take liberties here. We had to retcon this lore here, and we have to keep in mind the audience that doesn't know the game, blah blah blah, and and then you got these trailers coming out with this really god awful music that doesn't really apply.
Oh man, the promotions have just been so weird.
Yes,
the marketing is unfortunate.
It is, and it's I can see it's directly aimed at non-fans. So that being the case, I'm starting to have some trepidations about the movie, and it's starting to lean me towards what I was afraid of, in that Warcraft fans are already going to see it and already like it just because it is their own thing. That's fine, but I'm afraid it's not going to cross over. It's not going to be the breakout hit that we want, because it feels like they're going middle of the road trying to make everybody happy kind of thing. That's the vibe I'm getting. Have you guys felt that at all?
I actually wrote a big long blog entry about that because I kind of agree with you, not necessarily with the same, for the same reasons, not necessarily because of the compromising. I think I understand why they chose the Warcraft 1 story for the movie, because it is the first, basically.
Right.
But I am not so sure that it was the right story to choose for the first movie, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've got the orcs versus humans, which is great, but I kind of wonder if modern movie audiences would have identified more with something like, Arthas's story, like the story of Warcraft 3 or something like that, where you've kind of got, you've got the more human aspect of it, like in Arthas and Illidan and all these kinds of Jaina and all these other kinds of characters. So I'm kind of worried in the sense of how is the general movie-going audience going to relax or react to big giant orcs
Right.
Yeah.
stomping around the screen for 2 hours. I think I saw that the running time was about 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not a good story, but the whole beastly tribe style
Yeah, the
redemption
aesthetic's
arc.
not very modern.
Yeah, and the redemption arc, like the non-hero redemption arc, has been kind of done to death in movies nowadays. So I don't know, man. Like, if you think about it, like if Lord of the Rings was shot from the perspective of Sauron's army, do you think people still would have gone and sat there for 2 hours?
Right.
Well, I don't know.
And that's been my thing too. I've said for a long time in terms of people that are non-fans and except Sam Raimi, when he was doing the script and doing the directing, he was going the same route. What the humans were the good guys, orcs were the bad guys, and that's what people are, at least the major populace, seem to kind of, especially because of Lord of the Rings, that's how they see things. And
Exactly.
are they going to buy into this? I hope so.
Exactly.
I hope
Like
so.
that's my thing. Like I know I'm absolutely going to go see the movie opening night. I'm probably going to go see it multiple times just because.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so worried that this is not going to capture the general movie-going audience, and I'm not sure if the dedicated fans of the game are going to be enough to carry this
Right.
to a sequel.
Right.
Which is a bummer because I really want to see Arthas' story like on the screen. Like, no offense to Dorotan and Thrall and all of them,
Right.
but I really want to see Arthas and Illidan and all the elves and all like the dragons and the cool stuff like that.
Right.
Especially if they've made decisions while making, like, not just in the promotion, but while actually making the movie that are going to alienate that core fan base. It feels like they can't really decide between making it for the fans or for, like, there's two fighting forces in the movie's production, and I'm afraid they're just going to not nail it on either front.
Exactly, and I totally agree with you, and that's why I kind of wish they had gone with a different subject, at least at first.
Right.
And there's so many different stories in WoW.
Exactly.
They could have told.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
But,
there's, my gosh, they could have done the dragon aspects, they could have done Arthas, they could have done Illidan and the Night Elves, they could have done all, like, the...
They could have done the
ancient-
Stormwind Revolution with, like, the dead mines in Van Cleave. Like, everybody loves everybody's really excited right now about making rich people give up their money because everybody hates rich people.
Yeah,
Like, that's a big thing, so why not do that?
There's so many great characters, and like I said, I totally get why they did Warcraft 1 first. I'm just not sure that was the best decision on their part.
Right.
But
Well, now I can see as Edwin Van Cleef like a Han Solo type character, just to try to appeal to the masses a little bit more. But I the only thing I can say is hopefully we can trust in Duncan Jones. He's done great stuff before.
Oh yeah. I
Source
think
code was great.
with
Moon was
this
great.
source material, I'm sure he's done the best with what he was particularly given.
Right.
And I'm still absolutely psyched to go see it and pay $15 for movie theater popcorn that I'm absolutely going to chow down on.
Yeah.
But yeah, gosh, I really hope we get a sequel because I really want to see some elves.
Well, and that's the other thing. Hopefully, well, there are elves in this, by the way, just in crowd scenes at least that I've seen. But the one thing I think, hopefully, we got going for us these days is the fact that these studios love these universe kind of things with the Marvel universe and all the stuff. They want to create a franchise, and maybe it'll do just enough where they'll go, okay, we'll do one more, and maybe that'll get some momentum, and they'll come out with a Warcraft universe that they can kind of hang their hat on, just like Marvel has.
Right, and I'll go see the movie 3 times, so I'll do my part.
I think we'll all do our part. Hopefully, again, and when you're talking about how it'll appeal to fans, but maybe not enough to push it over the edge, and certainly not for casual new people. It reminded me of maybe like the Firefly movie, Serenity. That was sort of the same thing. Well, it was fantastic for fans. Nobody else really engaged in it until home video, probably. So I hope we don't have that, but we'll see. Even these days, home video, if it does enough business, that's enough for them to go ahead and greenlight another one. But the question is, would Duncan Jones do it? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I agree.
Do you guys think that some of the Warcraft stories would take better, like they would take better to being portrayed in a series rather than movies?
I think, particularly in the case of like Arthas or Sylvanas, like they'd make a really good like what Netflix series.
Yeah,
we
because
go.
that's the cool new thing. Is Netflix originals. Like we've got, the
Absolutely.
Daredevil. They're making Punisher. They've got all these comic book stories that they're doing really well when they don't have to cram it into an hour and a half. And I'm just wondering if that would take to the Warcraft IP.
That could be good. That could very.
Also, I've never seen a Netflix original I didn't like, so I'm just kind of dreaming here.
Well, and I every once in a while, going back to Firefly, I keep hoping that will get resurrected on Netflix somehow. But yeah, that would be interesting because, like you said, there are so many stories that they could take, some minutia, and make a series out of. That'd be awesome. There's certainly enough in the world that they could do that with. That would be awesome.
It'd be great, like, if they took, like, some of the character stories and made, like, short little animated videos of them, at least to put on the website for, like, people who aren't familiar with the lore to actually get it. Because, like, they have
the Lords of War thing that they did.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because, I mean, like, they have the expanded character stories on the website, but not as many people are familiar with that. So, I mean, like, if they just did, like stuff like the Lords of War series, like, with 4 other characters, like Anduin and Sylvanas and Jaina and all these people, they should probably do that.
No, that's a good point.
Now
That
that I'm
Lords of
really
War
thinking
was
about it.
amazing. I
Yeah.
really, really liked that. That's true.
I think they have a mistaken impression that the players of this game have either played the previous Warcraft series or they've paid enough attention to the storyline in the game that they would know these things. But even as somebody who's a huge fan of the lore, like, sometimes I can't keep up with the storylines that are going on in the game. So
Definitely.
yeah, it's just a lot for people to 25 years worth of Warcraft lore,
Yeah.
I think, that exists now.
Right.
So they could really stand to just kind of pare things down and give kind of an overview for new players and veteran players alike.
Right, and that's a good point because you're talking about new players. When I first started playing, I didn't know the Warcraft games before World of Warcraft, so I had a lot of catching up to do, and I had a lot of learning to do, and frankly, I'd still like to go back and play those games just so I can kind of do it firsthand, so to speak. I don't know if that sounds odd or not, but I'd love to go back and play those and just experience those that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
Wasn't there rumors that they were going to be re-releasing them for newer
Yes.
operating systems and putting them on the
Yeah.
Battle.net launcher? That would be cool.
yes,
Everybody
well,
would do that.
I keep
thought, like,
hoping.
Either that or them, like, putting it on phones and tablets and stuff like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Something.
And that would be, they could do it, cross-platform, no problems, like Hearthstone. That would be awesome. I'd be all about that. Because, like we said, and right now would be a great time because we're going back to the beginning with Warcraft movie and everything else, and Warlords of Draenor was, going back in time and kind of showing some of the events there. So, yeah, it would have been a great time. And they talked about doing it because of the anniversary last year and everything, but I don't know what happened. I would have been all over that. Just throw my money right back at Blizz like I always do.
Yeah.
So...
I feel like Blizzard kind of rests really high on their laurels because they are the industry leader, and I think that in doing so, a lot of stuff kind of gets a lot of opportunities. I don't want to say to build the brand, but to kind of retain players kind of gets lost in the lurch because they just assume that it's the game, play the game. Like, that's really about it. When there's so many other opportunities, like, even outside of, like, the books and things like that, which, I mean, are okay, but you've got the Battle.net website, you've got all these resources, like, start using them.
Right. Right. And let me ask you this. We talked about, the some of the backstories of the characters on the official site and stuff. And this is way, a tangent and everything else, but I'm just curious what you guys think. I honestly, and I'll say this sheepishly, I don't use the official site nearly as much as I feel like I probably should. I don't really go to the forums because it seems like they're really toxic most of the time. and I'll go to the official site when I get a link from their Twitter or something that I need to see patch notes or anything else. Am I alone in that, or do you guys?
No.
Okay.
No, because all the important stuff gets put elsewhere. Like all the blue
Right.
will end up on MMO Champion. Everything
Twitter.
you see it first on Twitter.
Yep.
So the only thing I really go to the website for is the forums, and I actually go because they're toxic because it's hilarious. I'll be just doing something in WoW, and I like to go to the arena forums and just page through and be like, oh man, what are people mad about now? It's just some drama going on.
I totally agree with you. I feel like it, and you know what's funny? Their website used to be the best resource from the game.
Right.
Because when I started playing World of Warcraft way back when, before I even installed the game, I was on their website reading about the classes and reading about, just silly stuff like the class lore and even something as silly as the mounts. Because they used to have that whole section dedicated to the racial mounts, and like it had all this information about how trolls select special raptors and then train them from birth to like be prime mounts and things like that. And that was the stuff that really got me hyped about picking a certain class, picking a certain character. And now the website really isn't used anymore. Like even their own website refers people to Wowhead and stuff like that.
I feel like the fan sites are just so good, and that they've acknowledged that they're just not really trying anymore. They know that people are going to go to Warcraft mounts and Warcraft pets and Wowhead and whatever else, so they just kind of sit back and let them do their thing and assume that they don't have to do it.
Yep, I guess there's no sense in putting that stuff up like when you've got WowPedia and stuff going on. But at the same time, I think that if they don't need to use the website for those kinds of resources, they could be using it for something else. Like, like we talked about, like the expanded character related stuff, like maybe making those videos or making a more like a newbie central hub for people that outside of just the newbie forum. Like they have like the class descriptions and stuff like that, but a lot of the flavor has been lost. Like they don't really go into, they really don't go into in-depth, like with anything outside of just the basic, here's what you're doing as a priest, like here's your spells, have fun.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it's not just me, because I mean, as much as I love this game and everything, and I go to their site and there is something cool, but then it's so short-lived. I'm like, oh, maybe, well,
everybody else just does it better.
Yeah.
And maybe they can't be faulted for that. They've got this community that's just so passionate about their game that they're making their careers on making fan sites and making resources that are just the best possible thing for all the players to use, that it's kind of hard to compete with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean,
true.
You got people like Perculia, which I've had the pleasure of running around the PTR and helping her and working with her on some of the rare guides for Timeless Isle, for example.
She's a wizard.
Well, you know what?
How does she do everything she does?
This is what I'll tell you. This is the secret, and this is what's awesome, because a lot of people go, "Oh, it's just data mining. That's where she gets all her." No, she spends so much time on the PTRs and betas and alphas and everything else, playing it like it's live, that she finds the stuff just by purely working her ass off. She is she loves the game, and she just works her butt off, and she doesn't get enough credit for what she does. Like I said, everybody just assumes it's all data mining, but she plays it like it's live, and she finds the stuff. And
all of the work she does for Wowhead, she writes so many of the articles and the guides, and she just sets everything up herself, and I just don't understand.
No, she just loves it, and it's so great to see. She's been one of my when I first started doing all this stuff, and getting the chance to just talk to people like that was just an eye opener, because I mean, we use the site, or at least I use the site, and I kind of took all that for granted. But when you see behind the scenes, kind of like we talked a little bit, Hazel, about how we put 20 hours into an 8-minute video, but nobody knows that, nobody sees that, and it was the same experience with her. I was totally flabbergasted with how much work she puts into it, and everybody give her a little bit of love, because she is amazing at that.
Yep, so. And in the same kind of vein, Quintessence, like Perks and Peeves, who's the one who runs Warcraft pets, man, she does the same kind of thing for like the battle pets. Like, she's found stuff in the alpha, like she found there's a new pet called a Dust Bunny. There's a specific rug in Dalaran that if you lift the rug, it'll spawn a Dust Bunny pet, which you can then tame.
Wow.
And she found that, and she was the first person to find that and post about it on Warcraft pets. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, how the heck you run through all of Dalaran and you find a single rug that spawns a battle pet? And I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, I don't even know how to get my character into the class home. It's crazy, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's what's great about this game and this community is the people and the passion that they have to check every rug in Dalaran for, just maybe there's a pet under there. It's so great, and that's the stuff. That's one of the reasons why we love doing this podcast, is we get to celebrate those people and that aspect of the game, because it seems like, and I don't know, it may be just me, but the past like 2 3 years in particular, things have gotten a little bit more feisty. People are looking for things to argue about and stuff. And one of the things that this podcast is meant to do is get back to the basics and focus on the positive and really talk about the passion and the love for this game. So, and those people definitely exemplify that. And Gloria, let me tell you, you exemplify that too. Your blog, your initiative for the Warcraft Welcome Wagon. I was, like I said, I was very excited to have you on for that very reason, because you really do fit in exactly with what we're trying to do here. And as we're winding down, I just have to thank you again for coming on and giving us a little bit of different perspective from the new player's point of view that we need to keep in mind for the next month or so. Or we really should always keep it in mind. Let's be fair. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
No.
So cool.
Sorry, I'm thanking you guys by cutting you off.
No.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad, and thank you for letting me come on to actually talk about the Warcraft Welcome Wagon.
Absolutely.
I feel like more people that know about it, more people that because people have come to me and they've been like, oh, what should I do to get involved? Like, I'm not the de facto leader of this movement. I would prefer that people take the banner and run with it in their own specific way, because the more people, if you have a leader, then that kind of cuts off the avenues of other people having their own ideas or getting involved or leading their own movements, and I don't want to do that. I want everybody to come together under this banner and do things in their own particular way, like without any sort of specific instruction outside of be nice.
Right.
So I mean, I just want to get it out to as many people as possible so that we can have, I think it's been a long time since the Warcraft community has kind of come together and actually had a movement that has been a net positive, and I would really like for us to all come together and do something that's going to have a very positive impact on the rest of the game's life cycle. Even at least for the next 3 to 5 years, at least, if we can. I don't want to say rope people into sticking around, but that kind of is what it is. We just want to keep people engaged. Exactly.
Right. Well, impacting another person's life in some fashion is an important and it's a mantle that you want to carry with you, and for Warcraft, I mean, it's just. Even if it is a game and we're just helping them enjoy their time in the game. I mean, like I said, if that person would have done that for me, and here I am, it would be 10 years in July for me playing this game, and I've got to be a content creator and all the things I've experienced. I wouldn't have had those, maybe, if that guy wouldn't have taken the time just for a half hour and told me what to do. So, and that's what I'm thinking about when we're just impacting people's lives and making their lives a little bit better in some fashion. That's awesome. So thank you very much again. Now, one thing I will say, where can people find you? I mean, we've got Twitter, you've got your blog as well. Tell people where they can find out more about you and what you do.
Okay. I am on Twitter at Gloria Bo Boria, like that old Banana Fanafo song. And then more information about the Warcraft Welcome Wagon can be found on my Tumblr, because that does not have a character limit. And my Tumblr is the same thing. It's gloriaboboria.tumblr.com. And that's where you can find the majorly written out posts about the Warcraft Welcome Wagon. But even if you just want to use the tag on Twitter to talk about your efforts or tweet at me, whatever else like that, totally fine.
Yep, hashtag Warcraft Welcome Wagon. If you do get involved in that way we can kind of keep tabs on things and see what's going on.
And you said that's a hashtag that anybody can just pick up and run with if they have some content or something that they can do to help people. That's cool.
Absolutely, just run with it. Have fun with it.
There you go. That's what it's all about. Well, that is our time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Gloria. Hazel, as always. It's been a great show. I've been 2 weeks since we've done this, and I've missed it. It really makes my Mondays not bad anymore.
It's good for me to talk to human people once in a while, so I appreciate you, Jeff.
Every once in a while, with your unique perspective, and which I learn every week is more and more unique as the weeks go by. It's just the way you're like, I'm going to just hit that wall until I figure out what I'm going to do. I don't like learning. Let's go. That's like the quote of the week. Anyway, thank you guys very much, everybody listening. We are on Stitcher and iTunes. You can find us at d20crit.com. And Hazel, we can find you at Hazelnutty Games. Is that at Twitter as well?
Hazelnutty Games on Twitter, on YouTube, and those are the only two you really need to worry about.
Right, and I'm Bombardian on Twitter and YouTube as well. I'm starting to do a little bit more in terms of video creation. I can't do the 20 hours behind the scenes anymore, but I'll start putting some more stuff up randomly here and there. So thank you guys very much for sticking around, and yeah, that's it for us for this week. We'll see you next week at the same bat time, same bat channel. You guys have a good week. We'll talk to you then. Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
I rolled a 20.